getting into it. We are fucking getting into it. I don't see a whole lot of people talking about this genre. I don't know why. It's a great genre. This is basically how a lot of people got into the extreme metals, and I want to fucking shine a light to the people who are new to the scene, who don't really know about the roots, and maybe want to get into it. And I'm going to go with the shoutouts first, because these are the bands that basically, like, they were important, but they didn't, like, change anything. They weren't, like, the beginning, but they were important and they were good. The first one is The Cleansing Apparatus by A Different Breed of Killer. Second is The Forefront of Failure by The Red Shores. 2 Inches from a Main Artery by Through the Eyes of the Dead. Below Me by Dr. Acula. Carnal Repercussions by Salt the Wound. And then the self-titled album from the Irish Realm. Alright, so the first one that like made a huge impact, and you already probably know what it is. It's The Cleansing by Suicide Silence. Some people may not like it. Some people may fucking hate the band, and that's understandable. Alright, so this album had like... This album was their first like major release, right? They released an EP before this, but this was the album that blew up. A lot of the themes on the album was like religion and like family life, stuff like that, which I think a lot of people can relate to, which is probably why this album blew up so much. And it was also the first like kind of deathcore style of band to really blow up into the mainstream of metal, because before it was like this whole separate little weird clique in metal that nobody really talked about. And then suddenly Suicide Silence and also Whitechapel, which fucking guess what's next, popped up. People were like, oh, this is a legitimate genre that we should like pay attention to and nurture like a small wee baby lad. It's weird because like this album had so many themes on it that from other bands would have been like way edgy. Like it would have been like, alright, Mr. RXD Cringe Master, go to the corner and think about what you've said on the internet today. But, like, for some reason, I think this band, in my opinion, pulled it off. I don't think a lot of people feel the same way. But, personally, I feel like this band really pulls off that kind of style pretty well. Like, if you just listen to the opening track of the album, it's like people screaming and mumbling shit, and it's really creepy and weird. I remember... I'm going to go off topic a little bit. Okay, so I remember one time I snuck out of my house when I was in high school. And I was like... what I used to do is I used to sneak out, see my girlfriend at the time, and then I would like sleep outside because there was like hardly a way to ever sneak back into the house, really. It was very difficult, and whenever I did it on a school night, which I did often, there's just no point to going back because I'm already so close to the school that I went to at the time. So what I would do is I would go sleep in a park or, you know, somewhere else like that. So at one point I was walking back to this park I was about to sleep at. The song came on, the intro track, when I was listening to it. And it was like 3 in the morning, there was just nobody. And I was like listening to it, and it actually like kind of freaked me out, which was the first time music ever like kind of made me feel an emotion other than like depression or sadness when it was a sad song. But yeah, that's what I remember most about this album. And I think this album was just influential for a lot of bands and people in general. I mean, they basically fucking sparked an entire genre. You can give a lot of credit to Suicide Silence for making this new style of deathcore and making it the genre it is today, actually. And it had all the tropes of like every Myspace deathcore band: really high highs, pretty low lows, chugging guitars, and then fast like blast beaty stuff. And that was a lot of what the band was at the time. But I think what made them stand out was that they were talking about things. They weren't just like spouting out edgy, gory lyrics. They were actually like talking about things and wanting people to look into their lyrics and like think about what they're saying. I mean, I think the sound of this album changed deathcore forever, and I think it influenced everything deathcore is now. Fuck, it even influenced me. I learned how to scream off of Census Fail, Chiodos, and these guys. So, I mean, and you can definitely hear it when I covered a song off this album. Link in description, by the way. This next album is called Somatic Defilement by Whitechapel. Like I said before, a little spoiler alert from ahead. But this album, I liked this album at the time. Looking back on it, I still like it, but maybe not as much. I'm not like as impassioned about Whitechapel anymore. I don't know why. But Phil Bozeman is still one of the best vocalists in deathcore today, in my opinion. He just has these lows that are insane. His highs are pretty good too, but his lows just are fucking amazing. They just have so much bass to them, and they're like solid as fuck too. And on this album, it just had this like fucking evil, like heavy synths. This was the album that really brought forth a lot of the core that's now in today's deathcore genre. Like this album brought a lot, like it was very chuggy. It wasn't super fast. But it was like very chuggy and like heavy, and the breakdowns were fucking brutal, and it was just everything was like low. The tunings were low, the fucking BPM was low, the fucking vocals were low, the bass frequency was low, and just the hate and anger that you hear in a lot of like music today in this genre. I feel like this band was kind of the first to do just like the pure anger, like write about your ex kind of style of deathcore. Anyways, and I think this really helped bring forth the whole like bringing emotion into metal, and honestly, I'll be fucking real, I like that a lot. I don't think I would have gotten into metal if it wasn't for the fact that they were able to talk about themselves and talk about how they're feeling. And this album was just beautifully constructed too, like the flow of the entire album going through. I don't get bored even listening to it now, even if I don't like it as much as I used to. Like, the flow is just so pristine and nice. Alright, so this next one is Count Your Blessings by Bring Me the Horizon. Yes, the Bring Me the Horizon that made Throne, that made Happy. Yes, that one. Little do some people know, their first album was super deathcore and was screaming the entire way through. And, like, I wouldn't say it's their best album. I still think Suicide Seasons is their best. But I will say that this album helped bring forth a lot of people into the scene, because the issue was that a lot of people didn't really like deathcore because it was just mind-numbing chugs and just breakdowns and brie. Like, that's what a lot of people thought deathcore was. And these guys kind of didn't do that. They were super fast, super technical, still had breakdowns, because you kind of have to in this genre. But, like, super fast and technical, sweepy, like high on the higher register of screaming most of the time, but then you get low. And I think it brought forth a lot of new audience in the deathcore scene, because a lot of people outside of deathcore was like now looking and just being like, oh, so there are bands like this. Cool, I'm into it, you know? Also, this is during the time that Ollie Sykes, their vocalist, was still doing ketamine. So all the lyrics are super fucking weird. There is a lyric from a song called Braille off this album that says, "It's 3:18, my mouth tastes like corpse of every pregnant teen. The minutes are hours and the hours are days." Like, what the fuck does that even mean, dude? What? Like, the entire album is basically that. Like, it's a wild trip down. If you listen to Bring Me the Horizon's entire discography, like, it's a wild trip, because you basically get to see Ollie Sykes recovering from substance abuse in real time. This is probably one of the more technical albums during the time, and I think that's what really brought deathcore to where it is today, where like you're not confined to just doing chugs and breakdowns and blast beats. You can do more than that, and I think it was a really, really, really important part of deathcore. Alright, so this next album is called Doom by Cowboy. I think we all know the one song, you know, the one. But listening to the entire album, it's kind of strange. Like, because, you know, everybody just knows that one song by them and then didn't really look into them past that, which kind of sucks. But they're like a really, really, really solid band, actually. I, for one, really enjoy them. It's kind of weird, too, because the entire like time while listening to Cowboy, you kind of just think, like, they're gonna rise above this deathcore thing, aren't they? And they definitely did. They, I don't know what you would call it now, like progressive death metal, progressive deathcore, one of those two, I guess. But they definitely outgrew the whole Myspace era style of music. And I always kind of knew they would. They always kind of gave off that vibe of like, you're gonna do more than this, aren't you? But it really like brought together the full world of like both death metal and old style metalcore together. Like, they were the purest breed of both of those things mashed together. The thing that I really think like set them apart was that they had so much vocal experimentation in their tracks. Like, all their tracks were super wild when they came to Johnny's vocals. They were just insane. It was shit that at the time in like middle school I had never heard before. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. In this album now, though, I can definitely see how like deathcore took on what it is now. Because this album is basically just like what deathcore is now, but like 10, 15 years, or not 15, no, 10 years ago. It's kind of fucking wild, actually, listening to it. Vocally, the band is extremely, extremely interesting. And compositionally, like with instrumentals, it's a very good basic middle ground between the two genres, subgenres made up of. So it's a good album. I would say listen to it. And the next one, honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say about it because I personally don't like it, but it definitely did play a really important part in deathcore. It's Allegiance by His Blood Runs Black, which is kind of ironic considering that this is the only band on the entire list I have a shirt for. I mean, it was given to me, but still. But yeah, As Blood Runs Black is an interesting band. Since like 2006, they've made 3 albums, and that's all they have. After Myspace, they kind of just died. I don't know why. The last album they made was in 2014. I don't think they're a band anymore, but fuck it, what do I know? But the band's kind of similar in the fact that Job for a Cowboy, where they're kind of a really good mix between the two of them. Just for some reason, I feel like they do a little bit worse, though. I don't know why. Listening to it, I'm less interested as when I am in Job for a Cowboy. And their vocals are definitely less experimentational. Their vocals are basically just run-of-the-mill deathcore. I will say, though, what I do really appreciate about this band is that they brought forth the humor side of deathcore, which is awesome. I love humor in metal. I think it's great. Like, throw on some Bro Job, throw on some Infinite Annihilator, throw on some Operation Cunt Destroyer. I'm fucking down with it. I don't know what it is. I just love humor in deathcore and in metal in general. These guys kind of had that humor, like, not a whole lot, but they kind of had, like, they knew they were kind of a meme. Like, they were kind of self-aware that their music was basically generic. And, I mean, hey, like, not giving them flack. They're great. At the time, they were revolutionary. But now they basically kind of sound like most deathcore. And at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of knowledge about, like, tone and how low your guitar can go, and then, like, 8-string guitars. And there wasn't a whole lot of knowledge on gutturals and vocals and tunnel throats. And so, like, that being said, it's what a lot of deathcore is now, but with a lot of what makes deathcore now. You know what I mean? Other than that, there's not a whole lot special about this band. I do enjoy them to an extent, but they're not, like, amazing. That's your basic starter pack for Myspace deathcore. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you do check out the bands I listed, and even in the shout out section. If you want to find out what bands I'm wearing today, let me move my fucking amount of hair. This is a band called Deicide. They're a old 90s style death metal band. And this band right here is Loser. They're a modern new metal, I guess you would call it, style band. I played with them recently. I have a flyer right here. They were fucking amazing. Really nice dudes. I think they're still on tour. I'll put that up. And if you guys have a date on here and they haven't gotten to you yet, please go out and see them. Please support this band. They're on the come up. They're gonna blow the fuck up. I guarantee it. And alright, thank you for tuning in today. I hope you really enjoyed the list. You have a good rest of your day.